Okay, and we're on. So, Pamela Sams, financial advisor. So, this is her bio. For 18 years, Pamela has been helping women improve their personal and financial wealth through solid financial life planning. Pamela's education and training enabled her to help clients successfully navigate through the myriad of financial decisions they face during their lives. She focuses on helping her clients meet their financial needs and help them to achieve financial security and greater retirement readiness. Pamela has become a strong voice in the area of personal finance for women. Her knowledge in this area has made her a sought out speaker. She has appeared on local TV, radio, and been quoted in articles for Investors Business Daily, Bloomberg.com, fiduciarynews.com, Equifax.com, and Financial Planning Magazine. Pamela is married and lives in Chantilly, VA, and has 3 children. She devotes her free time to her family, her church, enjoys reading, and loves to sing. Talking about a life with no limits, huh? So you've been around. I want to see what you got to say. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic to you, Pam.
Awesome. Is there, Chris, is there a way to do a screen share so I can do the presentation?
Yeah,
I have a few slides to share. But while you enable that, just kind of want to echo on that question, echo the sentiment like everybody else is, life is short. I read my Bible every day. Psalms 90 says, a day will pass in terms of a blink. We have, in Psalm 90, it says our lifespan is 70, if we're lucky, 80. So, if you're somewhere in the middle of that, you only have a certain time span to really live. So you live life to the fullest. So if I was to go back and talk to my younger self, is really to, like Craig said, really take chances, bet on yourself, take those chances early, fail often as you can, because eventually, you'll find your way. But if you don't, and you play the safe bet all the time, you look up and next thing you know, you're 70, you're 80 years old, and then you have a life of regret. So you don't want to do that. So if I was to go back and say, it's like fail often, fail fast, get over it, keep moving, and go on to the next thing. But definitely, take chances a little bit more as well. So did you enable the
Yeah, I made you co-host.
share?
I think you can do it now. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, let's see.
Let me go ahead and take a screenshot real quick, guys. So you guys can give me a nice, beautiful smile. And let's wait for Ellie. Ellie. Hold on. Wait 1 second. Let's see if she comes back. I think she probably went to the bathroom. We'll do it at the end. So just go on with your presentation.
Got it. Okay. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And hopefully it'll advance the way that it normally advances on any PowerPoint. But for those who don't know me, my name is Pamela Sams. Jackson Sams Wealth Strategies is the name of my financial planning firm. I have been practicing for the last almost 20 years, really helping people, particularly women, strengthening their financial planning, give them financial advice. And throughout my career, I really thought it would be best to do a presentation on the wow factor, because, how to make your customers raving fans. So, from day one, I still have most of the clients that I had when I started this practice. I can probably say I've lost maybe 2, 3 throughout the years, but that was through either location, change, decided they wanted to do it on their own, whatever the case may be, but most of them have stuck with me for the last almost 20 years. And so I wanted to kind of share some tips with you in terms of how to make your customers raving fans. I call them customers. I may interchange them and call them clients because they are clients for me. And some of the information may or may not translate depending on what industry you're in. But if you can take some tidbits off of what I explained to you, then all the better if you can. And of course, I'll take questions at the end as I go through. So let's see if I can do this. Advance the slide. Okay. So know your customers. I call it KYC, and that's the first thing you really need to know, because it's all about building relationships. And most of our businesses, not transactions. We want people to come back. We want people to be repeat customers. And so we want to get to know them as much as possible. So what I do, I have a data intake. And like I said, some things may or may not translate depending on your industry. But what I do is ask a whole lot of questions on my clients when they come in, from, of course, the basic information that I need to know is, name, address, social, all of those things for financial services. But, what are their likes and dislikes? What do, where did they where did they go to school? Where did their kids go to school? All of this information, I call it a form. It's acronym form. So it's family, occupation, recreation, and motivation. So what does their family structure look like? What do they do as an occupation? What they like to do recreationally, hiking, biking, I love to sing, and motivation, what kind of motivates them on, taking action. So for me, I need to know, what kind of things motivate them, so I know how to get them from one point to the next point, what motivates them. And once you've gotten the data, what I do is build personas from that data. So for example, if I have a young woman that comes into my practice, I kind of know based on, age, what kind of things that she will need down the road. And I kind of build a persona of that. Same thing with, let's say, a 24-year-old millennial or so, or, a Gen X or Gen X. So I try to build personas of each of those characteristics, so I know, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on a later slide, what you can use once you've built those personas. But that's kind of where you want to start, with knowing your customer as much as you can when it comes to your business. So educate your customers. You want to give information and then advice, especially with financial services. People come to me and say, I'm looking at doing, XYZ. What do you think? I need to have a whole lot of background before I just give blanket advice. What do you, I think Greg had said, what do you do with $10,000? And I need to ask a whole lot of questions on, what is it for? What is your time horizon? All of these different things. But before I give that advice, I would like to educate the people on, of course, my process, on how I do things, how I give advice, how things run in my practice, any solutions that I come up with. So when I'm, either presenting products or, services, I need to walk them through and make sure they're educated on the solutions so they can make a proper decision. I'm not just sticking people any place and they not know exactly why they have certain things. And that's one of the things I pride myself in with my practice, is that when people come to me, either they had an advisor prior, I said, well, you have a whole bunch of stuff here. Why do you have these things? And they're like, I don't know. My advisor told me. And hopefully, I send, if my clients decide to leave and do something different, they will know, at least if they went to someplace else, why they have everything that I have recommended to them. And of course, you want to also educate them on the benefits of why, excuse me, on why they have certain things as well. So the process, the solution, and also the benefits. You just don't want to throw out information. You want to make sure you present the information, but also advise them appropriately. Thank you for allowing me to take a sip of water. So deliver more than you promise. Promise and over deliver. I know you probably heard under promise and over deliver. You never want to under promise. You always want to make the promises that you have with your clients. So I always put promise and then over deliver. But it comes down to surprise and delight your clients. And Bobby's not on the call, but I know she is perfect at this, because I get a lot of stuff from her, and I'm sure you guys have probably done it as well. Her as a real estate agent, she will, send, baskets of, something for certain events, or she'll send you, seeds or something during, the before the planting season, so you can do that. I think I got one from her was goodies on hot chocolate and things towards the fall. So you want to do things like that for your clients, surprise and delight them as often as you can, because then that way they're like, hey, this person is, really cares about me. They know what I'm all about, and, it builds trust as well. One of the surprise and delights that I do for my clients, every time a client person comes, a client of mine, I always send them out a fruit, one of those edible fruit arrangements. And then the card always says, here's to a fruitful relationship. So I do that. I sent out an wedding anniversary present to my client's 10th anniversary. That's tomorrow. So that's going out today for them to receive for that. So you always want to make sure, and that's the part of getting to know your clients up front. So you know all of these things. So if you get information on where they went to school, where their kids went to school, all of that, you're able to do that surprise and delight. So, if, I have one of my good friends is from graduate from University of Alabama. So you know how they are with, Roll Tide. So, when she became a client, I sent her, a Roll Tide, flag, so she can basically have that on her porch, to fly it during game days. So you want to do things like that because it makes you memorable. Like you said, it separates you from the pack, and you want to make sure you put that in, implement that as much as you can in your businesses. I put down here the Ritz-Carlton 5-star customer service. That's basically what they do. They have everything, from when you become, excuse me, dry throat this morning, excuse me. So when you check in, all of the different things that they know. So when you get in, they'll have, all of the things in your room that they know based on you being a Ritz-Carlton customer, that they will customize to you when you first come in. When you check in, they'll have all of the information prior that, from previous stays, and they make sure that that's always implemented. Every single Ritz-Carlton you go to through in the country will have the same processes and the same customer experience. So you want to go, if you can Google Ritz-Carlton 5-star customer experience, it's one of the world-class customer experience, models that most people use. Same thing with Disney. So you want to look at both of those when you want to do the deliver more than you promise part of your wowing your customers. So you also want to be transparent. Always be open and honest with your clients. If you're hiding things or if you're not being truthful, that can come back to bite you. So you don't want to do that. So you want to be as transparent as possible. Communicate timely. So if something goes awry in the process or in the relationship, make sure you get with it right away. Sort of for me, if something happened and it came back as something different than I explained, I'm on the horn and I'm talking to them and say, hey, I told you XYZ. That is not the case. Are we still okay to proceed with that? But make sure you're open with that before they get the item or the product, and then it's not what you disclosed or said to them. And that's could make a huge mistake. So you always want to disclose, admit any mistakes that you made. So, if you got something incorrect, that you didn't get the right, product, or they didn't get the right information, you always want to make sure you disclose and you admit them before you don't want to bury anything. So you want to make sure you're transparent, because that ultimately creates trust. So always be open and honest with your clients, be transparent, and communicate timely with them. You want to consistently meet your clients' needs. So customer service is king, just as I explained to before with deliver and over deliver for your clients. That generates trust and loyalty, with the customer service. We've all been there in terms of going to certain businesses and customer service is, crappy, or you call and you're on hold for 2 hours or something. So the value of having great customer service, because happy customers refer. If you like, you handled the situation timely, your customer service was excellent, you got everything that you need, they will refer customers. Unhappy clients can hurt your business, because what will happen. Hey, I had a horrible experience at XYZ business, and that speaks volumes. It goes out like hotcakes in terms of things that people, when people aren't happy, they tell everybody. So you want to make sure your customer service is up to par, consistently meeting the client's needs, because, like I said, those happy clients refer um, more business to you. Be on the same page. So this is all about expectations and objectives. So initially, when people become clients of mine, it's all about communication and what their expectations. So I have what I call a list of things: client expectations and also advisor expectations. This is what I'm expecting of you. This is what you should expect of me. So in terms of being on the same page, because perceptions and assumptions will kill you. Because somebody will come back and say, well, that is not what I perceived it to be, or that's not what I assumed it to be. And then you assume something of them. It just doesn't work out right. So you want to make sure you're both on the same page in terms of what the expectations are and what the objectives are and what you're trying to achieve in order to come up with the best solution that you can for your customers. And ask questions along the process. If it's, like I said, some things may not translate with other businesses, but along the process, you ask questions. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you were looking for? Are we still on the same page? Because some things may have changed. My objectives changed. Now we have to kind of go back to the drawing board if we need to. But if you can continue along the process without asking the questions, you basically will end up on different pages, and you don't want that. So you want to make sure communication, everything is stated up front in terms of expectations and objectives. And then, of course, ask questions along the process to make sure you stay on the same page as your customers. Value your clients. Of course, your clients are your business lifeline. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business. You basically have a hobby. So we want to make sure we value our clients. Show appreciation. So, thank them at every turn that you can. Thank you. I send out when they first become clients, thank you for joining my practice. This is what you can expect, all of those things I talked about before, but I thank them first and foremost. If they send a referral to me, I'm sending thank you. Thank you for sending a referral. Here's a small token, either a Starbucks gift card, a little a little gift card, to Amazon, whatever, but show appreciation. And I also do, client appreciations now, of course, due to where we are right now and home. But, I would do events on, having what I call client bring a friend. So with, a show appreciation for the client. We would go out, have a nice lunch, dinner. They would bring a friend for introduction for that. But it would really just be there to show appreciation. And never, 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 never take your clients for granted that they're going to stay with you. Like I said, I have been lucky to have most of my people that I have started with continuing with me, but I never take them for granted, because at any time they can walk out the door and then, I don't have them as a client, and that's revenue lost as well. So you don't ever take them for granted, and I always give them personal attention as well. So I'm key with making sure I follow up. For example, back in March, when everything went awry with the stock markets, everybody got personal attention. Everybody got a phone call on, hey, how are you feeling? I'm calling to take a temperature. I know things are bad. What's going on in your life? So I can understand, what they are going through, if they have any needs at that particular time that I can address. But everybody got a personal phone call from me during that time period. And then I also had a series of emails that I sent out throughout the, that early part of the recession and the downturn. It was called, basically COVID updates. So it was a little bit of COVID news, but also what the economy's doing, what the stock market's doing. All of that went specifically to my clients for that personal attention to know that I'm here, that they can contact me, but I know, what they're going through. So giving that personal touch as well. Be responsive. Customer expectations are rising, so you want to make sure you listen, you follow up in a timely fashion, and of course, don't make excuses. I put down here, client expectations are rising. Sometimes, depending on what your business is like, people could call me and say, okay, give me a call back, and that goes back to kind of that expectation. It's like, okay, if you leave me a message, you can tell them on your voicemail, somebody will get back with you in a couple of hours, somebody will get back to you in 24 hours, whatever, but make sure they know what that responsiveness is for that. So they won't expect you, if I called you or if I texted you, that you get back to me within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that's one of those things you have to, declare up front. It's like, if you contact me, what the kind of the responsiveness rate is. But the key is making sure you listen, so if they do have a complaint of something, that you listen and you address it and you take care of it, follow up in a timely fashion. So you don't want a customer to call you and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, oh, by the way, I heard you call me, and then you follow up. That's egregious, and you don't want to go through that. So make sure it's timely, and of course, don't make excuses. You don't want to say, they called you, oh, I was, I was out of town, or I was taking my kid to blah blah blah. Yeah, you're human, and your clients know that, and your customers know that, but that's not an excuse for you not getting back to them in a timely fashion. It is, but they don't want to hear that. So don't make the excuses on that. It's like, hey, I appreciate it. I got your message, and then I will take care of that as soon as I can. But do not put the excuse in there on why you didn't do the follow-up in a timely fashion. You don't want to do that. Anticipate your client's needs. So pay attention to client's needs and be one step ahead. So you want to anticipate. So this goes back to the beginning on try to know your client as much as you can and building those personas. So, I would know, if I have a young person in my practice, that eventually, if they're dating and then they're engaged, wedding's going to be coming, and then kids are going to be coming. So I could stay ahead on what's going to happen. They're going to need additional life insurance. They're going to need an education plan. They're going to need all of these things. So you're looking for the next solution, not the product to sell. Really listening attentively at all times. So all of the meetings that I have with my clients, I take scrupulously notes and putting everything in my CRM to the littlest detail that, my client the other day called me. It's like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I'm still stuck at home, but I'm going out swimming. The pools are empty. I bought a new bathing suit. All of those sort of things. That's in my notes on, hey, things are going well. She bought a new bathing suit. She got it on sale. All of that goes in because I'm listening attentively on what type of thing. So if I need to do that later, use it later, then I'll have that information. And of course, put yourself in their shoes. What are they experiencing? What are, and you at that age, or you being the customer, if you bought a product or service from a similar business like yourself, what would you expect to happen, and what type of needs do you think you would want? So anticipate your client's needs, pay attention, really pay attention. And that, like I said, goes back to knowing your customer as much as you can, because you can do some of this stuff if you know that from up front. So that's basically what I have for my presentation. I'd like to thank you very much for having me come speak and share some ideas with you on the wow factors as well. But, just kind of open it up for questions or Q&A if people had any information. And I'm going to stop sharing now. Any thoughts or questions?
Yeah. The one thing that did catch my attention was how customer expectations are rising.
Mm-hmm.
That's like that is so true. Like nowadays, people expect so much for so little sometimes. So
Yes, exactly.
But I think that's the one thing that stood out to me. You gotta really be so, how you say, still active, and you gotta, that communication definitely has to be up. If it's not, they're kind of just keeping them in the woods, and it just feels like you're just deceiving them in a way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that point, because I feel like as we have more technology and people can like text you, they kind of want like you to text right back. You know, they want you to email right back. So for my business, I've had to make some changes to make sure I have things set up to be able to, you know, have that in place to get back to people right away. You know, if they call and leave a voicemail and you don't call them back until the next day, like that's not going to fly. You know, they're going to want that, you know, response right away. And definitely agree with the promising and over delivering. You know, you don't want to get, you know, promise too much and then not meet the expectations. It's much better the other way around. But that was a good presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. It was great presentation. I took a lot of notes from your presentation. Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
thing is, the client, when people don't buy products, they buy you. If they don't trust you, they will never do business with you. So that is a great presentation. And yeah, all the time if the client call you and say, hey, I need this one, you have to call them right away. And if you don't, they will go some other places. So the follow-up is a key, and listen to them. That's the way the system works. So thank you, Pam. It was great.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to reiterate, thank you for a great presentation. One of the things I struggle with is, I think what other people were saying is setting boundaries, right? I definitely want to give awesome customer service like during the hours which I'm working, but you know, I get text all the time outside of my business hours or phone calls, right? And unless it's an emergency, I've just stopped responding to those. So that's kind of a struggle. I feel like, you know, in this world of expectations, right? I kind of feel bad, you know, part of me for not doing that. But on the other hand, I have to set boundaries. Is that how you feel?
Exactly. You know, and I kind of joke and kid with clients that when they first become clients and they're like, hey, can we call you anytime? I said, most of the time, I said, but I do still have to sleep and I still have to eat. So I kind of set that up front. And, you know, what to James' point as well is that, you know, if people in terms of the timely response, it was a presentation I went to, I think it was Fidelity a couple of years ago, said, you know, most kind of, let's say, high net worth people, you know, so they're making, you know, well over, you know, 500,000. That was the one thing that they cited that they left their advisor was timely response. And for them, it was like basically 2 hours. So you want to make sure you have that expectation. That's why I always talked about up front, you know, and like I said, it may not translate to everybody's particular structure in terms of business, but, you know, I know what you do, Greg, is that, you know, hey, this is kind of my time frame in terms of response. You know, if you get to me, I have, you know, this window, and that's usually kind of how I respond, or I'm not responding to text messages or inquiries after, let's say, 7 or whatever, and then they know the next morning you'll get back to them. But you do have to set those expectations and boundaries up front, because that's how relationships go awry, is because you're not on that same page that I said before. That they're expecting, you know, if you texted them, you know, they texted you in the morning, that, you know, at least within that hour, you're going to get back to them. If that's what they're expecting, if it's something different, you need to let them know. It's like, okay, if I get a text message from you, you know, I may be in a meeting, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible, but within a window of time, so they know.
Yeah, I had that issue too of my first clients that, you know, you kind of just, you can handle in the beginning, but then as you start getting bigger and bigger, it just starts piling up. Text message here, there. Hey, it's like freaking 9 o'clock at night. And like, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? And then if you don't answer, it kind of just start to call you next, right? So I got one client that's like that. I just learned to just not pick up and just send them a text. Hey, look, I'm going to sleep. Call me tomorrow. I'll let you know. I'll take a look at it in the morning. So it is hard. I know it's hard to really start setting those boundaries too, especially in the first clients that you have, to kind of get used to that nurturing, you know, and then that being able to control you in a way. And it kind of sucks too, because you think like sometimes you kind of get that doubt feeling, right? That kind of comes around that you might lose them or something like that. And you feel like you have to do something.
Mhm.
And I just try to ignore it. So I don't even know how to even sometimes deal with that myself. So, I mean, that kind of is a question with a response.
Mhm.
How to
Hey,
actually,
Pam.
Yes.
Good job. In your presentation, you talk a lot about communication, and that's one thing that all of us deal with. And as times change, I mean, with the COVID thing, communication has changed, and not all people communicate the same way. And some of us get stuck in there's only one way that we communicate, which is something that I think all of us need to work on. But I find that. And we talked about the actually Monday we talked about communication at the Ashburn meeting, and you know, we talked about sometimes getting back to things that worked before pretty well. We might want to think about doing again. And I talk to people that say, well, you know, I just don't like to talk on the telephone. I just like to send text to people. And